Before we get started, I wanted to take a moment to say that this video was made before the attack on President Trump in Pennsylvania. It's inexcusable that things like this happens, and that proper protection was not in place to alleviate any chance of someone doing this. Luckily, Mr. Trump survived. Regrettably, one other person besides the shooter was killed and another seriously injured. Our prayers go out to all. On an additional note, during this escapade of what happened, this tragedy, I heard that Mr. Kennedy, who's also running for president, does not have Secret Service protection. This is inexcusable. He needs Secret Service protection. And I hope all of us come together, whether you agree with his views or disagree with him, that he's a legitimate candidate and he deserves Secret Service protection, especially since he's lost his father and uncle to assassination. Now let's get on with the video.
Before we get started, I'd like to ask a favor of you. YouTube has not been playing nice. I put out test videos where professional people would go and look at the video. I'm not talking hundreds of thousands of people, but I should at least be able to get 100 views of professionals looking at the video to see what I'm talking about. And I get 20 views. So they are not counting the views that I should get. But if you go in and leave a comment, hello or oi, as the British would say, and that means basically say what, then it's kind of hard for YouTube to ignore that you've watched the video. I'd really appreciate it if you do that. And if you leave a real comment, I'd be glad to answer it. Now let's get on with today's video. It's unbelievable what's happening in the presidential race in 2024. I wish no ill will of either candidate. I know how I am at 74, and I know that mentally I'm not qualified to run the country. Forget training. That's a different topic, but I know how I am at 74. And we have one candidate at 79 and the others at 81. Well, even if they were 50% better than I was, I'd still be concerned about them as running this country. And I don't know, this is my opinion, I don't know if they have the best interest of our country in mind as their number one goal. So maybe these two would be the best candidates to run for office. This deserves a good talk about.
Hello anyone, I'm Scott Payne. They call me the old farmer. The President of the United States has limited powers. The real power is the combined Congress. That doesn't mean the President can't help make the economy and the well-being of the citizens better if Congress will allow it. Or the President can make things horribly more difficult for business and the people. For those who are alive back in the days of Jimmy Carter as president, with interest rates peaking just below 25% and struggling through oil shortages that left lines waiting at gas stations for a ration of only a few gallons of gasoline a day, the inflation rate was even worse than it is today. There were several key circumstances that caused this. The first is the repercussion from Richard Nixon taking the dollar off of the gold standard. Second, the Middle East was trying to throw their weight around, similar to what the United States has done in the past. And third, Mr. Carter would not delegate authority throughout the White House administration. When this happens, it's not good. Just look at what's happening in China when the person at the top has to make all the decisions and will not take any advice. It's not good. These are just the three most negative forces thrown at the economy which caused superinflation and despair. That is as far as I'm concerned. Mr. Carter caused me to lose 50 pounds in 3 months. I wasn't homeless, but I was one step away and could not afford the food needed to have a balanced diet. My feelings for Mr. Carter are not kind. Currently, my weight is just 4 pounds more than the day I graduated from high school, and that's at the age of 74. Since the days of Mr. Carter, we've had a couple of good presidents, and some, with the strength of America, allowed us to limp through their administrations. Now, we are at the same place we were 4 years ago, with a battle between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. To be perfectly honest, I'm extremely surprised that Mr. Biden winning the election 4 years ago. And I'm extremely surprised at his mental health deterioration. We can all be thankful that Walmart no longer has greeters, because at this state of his mind, I don't think Mr. Biden would qualify. If you take the politics and the tweets out of Mr. Trump's presidencies, he didn't do such a bad job as president. You may disagree with his decisions, but as the president, he was good enough. To call what happened at the White House an insurrection is asinine. A lot of people on both sides made mistakes and used bad judgment. The anti-Trump forces are trying to change history into what they want the people to remember. But that's not happening. Where I'm concerned is with Mr. Trump's attitude. If he again becomes a president, will it become 4 years of vengeance and retaliation? I just don't know. I have a very strong concern about how he would handle his second term. What I would like to see for whoever wins the election is to grant a total pardon to their opponent. Mr. Ford threw his political career on the sword when he pardoned Mr. Nixon. There were many things that could have come back on Mr. Nixon. As I understand it, and show me where I'm wrong, I believe Mr. Nixon had an unconditional surrender by the North Vietnamese on the table. He was just too busy to deal with it, and cost the lives of thousands on both sides, and a total humiliating defeat for the United States. I'm not an attorney, but could treason have been charged against Mr. Nixon without the pardon? I think we need a pardon to stop this hate for both of the current candidates. I truly wish we had two legitimate candidates that I would consider worthy of the office, legitimate in my eyes. Two candidates that we knew had the welfare of this nation as the foundation of their presidential administration. Whoever we choose to vote for, we need to be very careful. What if there's a replacement of one or both of the main candidates? We need to be careful if this happens, because there are several in both parties that I would categorize as being lower than horse thieves. Again, I see this in both parties. So if there's any changing of the guard during this campaign, please, whoever it is, we may disagree with the politics, But we must know they have the best interest of our country at heart. Whether you agreed or disagreed with Ronald Reagan's administration, there is no doubt whatsoever that he was putting our country first. Maybe we can find two such candidates, one for each party, who carries such an allegiance in their hearts. Thank you for watching, and please be safe. We'd sure appreciate it if you could subscribe and leave a comment. You know how YouTube behaves. They won't believe you watched a video unless you leave a comment. Also, it would help if you ring the bell and do a thumbs up. As you know, if I find a good channel, I pass it on to you. So if you think it's appropriate, it would sure help if you passed us on to your closest 10,000 friends and family. But above all, give a helping hand to someone today. It's the best gift to give. It'll make you feel good too.
Don't forget to click like, subscribe, share, or ring the bell buttons on the Original Old Farmer channel. We enjoy reading the comments that you leave, and they do help the channel, so keep them coming. And once again, thank you for watching The Original Old Farmer.
The VFW National Home for Children, providing families of veterans and active duty military opportunities for growth and development in a nurturing community. Please consider a donation to help their children and families. I.C. Rhodes speaking.